Well, we're back on the desk for this video to see what we can do. Today we're dealing with this. This is something I got from AliExpress because I wanted a 24 to 12 volt converter. Now I am dubious because all these things that say 20 to 30 volts input, well, when I'm running the big 100 amp 24 volt alternator and the 6-wheel drive ambulance that this is going in, quite often it can hit 20 or 29 or 30 volts, and it has a habit of blowing things up. Case in point, I have a solid state relay that experienced the alternator usage as well. It's a 100 amp alternator, a 100 amp solid state relay there that was only pulling 50 amps at the time. In any case, I am dubious about this being capable of 30 amps. So yeah, now in the donations and deliveries video where I received this, which is a couple of months ago now, I actually did open this up and have a look inside, and it looks fairly respectable, and it's a metal case all around, so it's fairly good. The bit that I've got confused about is this yellow wire. Like, I can pretty much understand what red and black is, but what's yellow? So I turned to the only piece of documentation that came with this, which is the box, and they have this bit here, and it says, note, where no memory, then some special models can swap the yellow line and the red line output, pick or the yellow line and the red line are connected together to the output. Yep, that totally makes sense. And it says here that the yellow is key and the yellow is REM. So I can imagine if on the input side this is an ignition wire, we could join those two together, but what's it doing on the output side here? I have no idea. So I've thought hard and long about this, and I've decided I'm going to hook it up to my lab supply and see what happens to it. And yeah, we will get the meter out and figure out what this yellow wire weirdness is. So let's get our gear out and see what happens. Alright, so first of all, I have a range of different supplies along here, and this one here is actually designed to come off my variable supply, but it's not on. Let's fire that up. Let's see if I can get 24 volts. 24.9 is fairly good. That's coming from the variable supply, which, if you haven't seen my desk, it's a big stack of equipment up there. So I had to cut because I dropped my camera. Anyway, the top supply there was from the late and great Ken Anderson. He was a good mate of mine. He's no longer with us. The lower supply is one made by my father, and I borrowed that all through my childhood, and now I've inherited it. Anyway, it's supplying 24 volts down here. Let's get some clips on this panel and start testing. Alright, we're going to need a couple of different things here. I have some little snap clips I can feed onto this. Here, these are little springy clips. And for the rest, I'm going to need clip leads. A couple over here. And I think I'm going to use a black rather than a yellow, just to avoid some confusion. In fact, I will want a yellow as well. So, we have a multimeter here. Let's get all this hooked up. Okay, we have things fairly loosely arranged here. I have a yellow clip lead onto the yellow input wire. We're going to connect our 24 volts here. I'm going to turn that off for a second. Connect our 24 volts to the input. Alright, now that's not live yet. Our 12 volts out is going to this meter over here. Our yellow output wire is stuck away with a bit of blue tack to keep it out of the way. Fuse is intact. Let's see, let's put 24 volts in, and we've got 12 volts coming out without that yellow wire involved. And oh, we have a fancy red light on the end of the unit here too. So actually, as it turns out, we don't need that yellow wire at all. Alright, well, that was a simple test. Alright, so we will chop and heat shrink those cables to get them out of the way. Then there's some more I want to do with this. So as I alluded to before, I plan to use this in the 6-wheel drive ambulance, which has been converted to a camper. Now, it already has an ancient red arc 24 to 12 volt converter that has been used to run a suction pump, I believe was its previous purpose in there. We have repurposed that using the auxiliary merit socket that's on there. And so yeah, we've got some 12 volts happening, but I want a redundant system because we do rely on it. So my old Nissan X-Trail that I had for about 15 years finally went to the scrapyard recently, and the owner sent me back some of these bits and bobs from the dash panel. I used to have 4 of these in there. I've just used one recently, but yeah, I thought about maybe reusing some of these off this and putting it on the opposite side, so we have a redundant system on either side, and it saves running cables all over the place. So it'll be interesting, but we're going to get this cable sorted. We're just going to do a test run and see what sort of current loss this is getting involved in. Anyway, before I do too much else, I want to make sure that this yellow wire catastrophe is not going to eventuate. We're going to take the little tuft off the end of this, and this one too. And we're going to find ourselves a pair of pliers in this top drawer over here. And we're going to put a little bit of heat shrink on the end. I'm going to use a trick that I've seen used inside microwaves, as in microwave ovens. Put a bit of heat shrink on here, and you heat all of this bit. You deliberately overheat the end here, and while it's still smoking, you squeeze it with a pair of pliers. That makes a nice little seal. The walrus will be happy with a tight seal. So, get that on here, and do the same thing here. You got to be quick with this, and then you seal it off like that. Alright, now I'm fairly confident these guys are not going to accidentally short on something. In any case, I don't know what the yellow wires really are there for, if they've set it up to bypass it. Let's get some clip leads on this. Now, just because we can, I'm going to use my analog current meter, which is probably a little bit overstated for this purpose, but it should measure 1 amp. So we'll find this out. Let's get this set up. Alright, let's explain what's happening here. So, these wires here come from the 24 volt variable supply. I can't remember what I've set the current setting to. It's all analog. Anyway, this is the 12 volt out. Now our 12 volt positive goes through the current meter and back out to this. And I think I've got that correct. And the negative goes direct through to this bit. So we should be able to turn this on, and we should see, oh, wrong one. That should turn on, and we see a blue light in here. That being an LED probably means we've got the polarity correct. No real current showing, but I have this lead here which is connected to the device I am filming with. Let's see what happens to the current when we plug this in. Well, see how we go. So I've just seen a charge indicator come up, and we are showing a small amount of current on the 12 volt side. And given that this is 5 volts, or 5 amps, sorry, let's check here. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's pulling about a half amp on that, which is not too bad. So we'd be pulling roughly twice that current here, so we'd be pulling about 1 amp off this, which is not bad. So how much are we pulling on the 24 volt side? That's the bit to look at. So this is now the tricky bit here. We need to switch to amps mode on the 24 volt side, and we're going to zoom up a little bit here. So adjusting for parallax error, this I think is a doubled meter, so it reckons we're pulling 2 amps at 24 volts. Off memory, when my old man made this, the meter wasn't big enough to get to 24, so he set it up at a 2 times scale, which means we're pulling about 1 amp at 24 volts, which would be kind of lossy. I would be shocked. I could try this, which has a better calibrated meter, but it doesn't go to 24 volts. Let's swap our current meter around. All right, we have a current meter on the 24 volt side. Let's see what we're getting here now. All right, it looks like we're pulling slightly less than ½ amp, or about ½ amp. So I'd say this thing's kind of lossy. But let's rejig things. Now, I could go and get my proper digital multimeters and get a really nice exact answer for all of this, but I don't think I will, because they're out in the vehicle and I've lost an LRF, and I don't really fancy going out to get them at the moment. Either way, we can tell that the current on the 24 volt side is loosely indicative to the current on the 12 volt side, which tells us we are actually probably losing a fair bit through it, which is mostly what I wanted to know. So, and this has a 15 amp fuse in here. So the 30 amp rating would be, I guess, mathematically calculated off the 12 volt output. Because if you're trying to pull 30 amps on a 15 amp fuse, it's probably not going to work. So, interesting. And so I guess while we're examining this, I might pull the cap off this again so we can have a look inside it. Because I'm probably not going to get around to installing this in this video. This is just examining this unit. So let's attack this thing with a screwdriver again. Oh, if I can find the right screwdriver for this. That is the wrong screwdriver. That's not a screwdriver. This is a screwdriver slash knife slash everything else. I don't know. Trying to do Croc Dundee impressions and they're probably been done to death. All right. One screw. Four screws. Right. This is what we have inside the unit. We have some mysterious white substance smeared onto the inner surface, and it feels sticky to the fingers. It feels kind of like a really tacky heatsink compound, and I would say that's probably what it is because I see some TO220 packages under there. A big inductor with a ferrite core. Another TO220 package here. What is this one? Wow, I can barely see what that is. And that on that sitting on legs like that, that's not going to last the vibration very well. That is something I learned from an EEV blog. There's been a bit of hand soldering in here, and the flux is still on the board. Yuck. I can't stand looking at that. It just bothers me no end. That is better. Okay. Now, yeah, 3 big fat capacitors, I'm guessing for filtering. Although I'd be shocked if it was that filtered. That's going to be something just necessary to have this thing work. Yep, big tracks. And the yellow thing, that no idea what that's for. I could potentially just chop that wire and pull it out. I think I'm tempted to just chop those yellow wires and rip them out. You know what? I'm going to do that. We have confirmed that it will work without them. So, this is not going to be used in an ignition situation. So let's rather than insulate them, let's just rip them right out. There we go. Now it looks like what we're after, and it makes total sense. Okay, I see here. There is that TO220 is attached to that. So, okay, it's an ignition pass-through. I see what's going on here. So this is the, where are we here? Oh, there is a magnet on my GoPro mount that grabs onto everything. So, yeah. So this is the input side, and it takes an ignition switch in, and then passes it through via this TO220 package device, which I'm guessing is like a FET or a isolation of some kind, and there might be a bit of an isolation there or something like that. Anyway, it's just basically relays that accessory signal between the two different voltage systems. Don't know why you couldn't use a relay or an optocoupler to do that, but anyway, clearly there's meant to be a big diode in here. Maybe that's being on the side that's on the 12 volt side. Maybe it's reverse polarity protection or something. Not sure. So yeah, There's the chip and obviously the circuitry associated with that chip, and there's a package here. So this could be some sort of like switching bridge. Oh no, that says Q1 and that says D1. Oh, and there's some solder, cold solder floating around between those contacts. That is a recipe for disaster. Alright, so I'm guessing that's the only switching transistor, and that is D1, a diode pack. I would expect these to be switched between each other. Anyway, I'm going to just only speculate about this. There is a little connector here for, or a header here for a connector of some kind. Not sure what that is, but we'll move on. Let's get the can back on this. You know what's just occurred to me? Why there's only one transistor? That's probably a linear regulator. And that might be why it's so lossy. It's not actually doing any kind of switching or anything like that. It's literally just a linear regulator with some filtering in it. I think that's probably all it is. And they're getting 30 amps because they've used a big one and put a lot of heatsink in the box. Well, linear regulators still work for what I'm doing, but yeah, it is a really inefficient way of doing it. That makes total sense to me now. And yeah, the big capacitors on the output side and that ferrite core, there's probably just a bit of ignition filtering because it's clearly designed to work in a vehicle. And you've got a big diode or a transistor. Maybe they're two linear regulators in parallel, which, yeah, but that little chip on there, I wonder if that chip is literally just looking at the ignition side of things. Seems like a lot of work. It is a bit of a mystery with this, and I'm not a big Clive, so I'm not as familiar with how the circuitry works. So I can't tell you exactly. I mean, look, I could take a week taking photos, stripping this down, and taking photos and properly analyzing how the circuit works, but I actually want to use this thing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some longer wires attached to this, and I might go and get it in the ambulance. But yeah, this is just a bit of a quick overview of yeah, an AliExpress special with not much instruction. So alright, I'll see you in the next one. This is a quick channel filler while I have to stay off my feet for a while. So we'll see you in the next one where I'm a bit more mobile, hopefully. Catch you later.